Welcome to the Father Knowts podcast, and I am your host, Warren W. Patten Jr., or you can call me Father Patten. Father Knowts is an informational style podcast created to give fathers a voice in their family structure. I encourage fathers to take back fatherhood and shake the trees of tradition to create a stronger family unit. We'll also delve into men's health, leadership, mentorship, and so much more. Okay, men, it's time to be a better father on purpose. Well, hello. Season 2, the Father Knowts podcast is back. I am back, and I am your host, Father Patten. Yes, indeed. I am super excited because it's been a long time since season 1. And, I did a few other projects. It's not like I was neglecting Father Knowts podcast. I did a few other projects, but I'll talk about that at a later time. But right now, it's all about season 2 of the Father Knowts podcast, and this is episode number 1. And I'm super excited, as I'm always super excited about talking about fathers. And I know it's not a popular subject, but I'm trying to do the best I can to make sure more and more people talk about fathers, great fathers. Now, I'm not a big fan of the term dad, but I know it's out there. But I really think fathers should take charge of the situation at hand and be a better father on purpose. Now, the first season was really based off of the book, Father Knowts, Being a Better Father on Purpose. This book is still available, but it is only available. I'll say it again, only available from my website. So I'm going to give you that website right now. There it is right there. That's the email address, but it is available on www.warrenwpattenjr.com. Yes, warrenwpattenjr.com. But you can email me at warrenwpattenjr.com, and you'll be able to get that book right there, Father Knowts, Being a Better Father on Purpose. Yes, it's still available. I have quite a few copies available. I understand not many people are big fans of how to make fathers better, but I am one of those people. I want to make sure that fathers have a voice in the family unit, in the family structure. That will definitely get our world back in a better place. I think so. I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but then again, I am willing to talk about it until it comes true, until it manifests into the place where we as a family come together and the family unit is strong again. I think the foundation of the family is broken. Why is it broken? And it's not broken for everyone, but we need more and more fathers to really take charge of the family and support the wife where the wife supports the husband. That's right. Definitely find that book, Father Knowts, Being a Better Father on Purpose, on my website, warrenwpattenjr.com. Or you can email me at warrenwpattenjr.com. Make sure you got Patten spelled right. You see it at the bottom on the screen right there, Patten. So let's get started. And I got a few things I want to talk about. I got to bring up my notes here right now because I'm trying to use my system and be a little bit more fluent. So I apologize for looking to the side, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. That's right. So season 2, 2026. I'm going to bring definitely a few more things that I did in season 1. And one thing I'm going to bring in is it's going to be leadership messages for fathers, and some of those fathers are working fathers. So some of my leadership messages are going to be for your personal growth and your professional growth. I think that's all a part of being a father. You have to grow professionally and personally. So I'm going to have some leadership messages. If you go back, I did put some information, one episode about the Evolve Leader, and that's under the Patent Entertainment company that I have started pretty much. And this concept called emotional evolution. Oh, that's heavy stuff, and we'll talk about that for another day. But that's going to also be shared on the Father Notes podcast because I think it all works together. That's right. Another thing I plan to do in 2026 for season two, I will invite guests, hopefully fathers. That's right, fathers, to join me on this podcast. And I want them to share what they do when they are leading their family. How are they shaking the trees of tradition? Oh, that's one of my phrases for the Father Notes podcast, shaking the trees of tradition. And you'll see that in my book as well, because I think traditional things that families do, they're wonderful, but I think they have to change. They have to evolve. And I think each father leads that process. How can you shake the trees of tradition to where you can make things happen the way you think they should happen? Just because your mother, your father, your grandparents said this is how it's done in our family. That's nice. But this is how it's going to be done in my family. Because now you can start the tradition. You don't have to get approval. It's your tradition. No disrespect to past traditions, but things have changed. This world is changing every day, and we as fathers have to change along with the changes before us. And we have to create change. Got to say that again. We have to create change for our families, our sons and daughters, because they're experiencing a whole new world. And we are experiencing that whole new world with them. Okay, that's two new things at the Father Knows podcast for 2026. It's got one more for you. Now, there may be more, but this is what I got started right now. Number three, I'm going to plan to go live this season. Yes, I'm going to go live this season. That way, I can invite people in, people can watch live, hear the conversation, and share their comments. I'm not afraid at all. When it talks about fatherhood, not afraid at all. So I'm really trying to help as many fathers as I can to do things a little bit different. Wait before you have children. Be in charge of whether you have children. We don't need to get into that right now because I have a topic that I want to cover for today. But I want to once again recap those three things I want to do in this season 2026. Number one, I'm going to bring in the leadership message for both personal and your professional growth. For each father, of course, of course. Now, I'm not saying that it's not a message for women and mothers. It is. But my concentration is about fathers. They need all of the attention that they can get and the support that they can get. All right. The next thing we're going to do is invite guests. Invite some fathers on the Father Knows podcast and let them share how they are shaking the trees of tradition and bringing their families together. And they're doing that sometimes without the influence of their father. Stop my podcast episodes. Sorry about that. It looks like it blinked out for a second, but I'm going to keep on going. The show must go on. That's right. That's right. So we're going to go live, and that way I can invite people to share their comments and I can respond to those comments because sometimes my comments are a little bit different and they might need a little texture, a little elaboration when it comes to why I do what I do. And I would like to share that a little bit. Can't always do that on the Father Knows podcast when I am just talking. So I might miss a thing or two here and there. So that's what I wanted to share for 2026. I am elated about what I plan to do. So let's get into this episode. Now, this episode is primarily going to be about, be a present father. Father, you have to be there, either in physical or mental. Oh my goodness, your voice must be heard. Your voice must be heard. And one of the terms that I use in the Father Knows podcast, make the choice to use your voice every opportunity you can. And sometimes we all know women talk faster, more, they have more words. That's okay. But you have to make the choice to use your voice. And sometimes you might have to say, excuse me, if you stop talking, I can talk. Can't talk at the same time. It never works. We only can sing at the same time sometimes. But when I talk about being a present father, be involved in all aspects of your children's life, no matter what it is, especially starting out with their education. Even if you didn't get a great education, you still can learn. Welcome to the new world where you can Google everything. You can YouTube everything. You can go to YouTube University, Google University, find any information that you need. No excuses at this point. You have to be involved. I was talking to my wife and I was like, it's amazing how sometimes parents feel like because they weren't great students that they can't help their children. Well, sometimes you got to get set down and learn the situation, learn whatever the issue is, and then teach it to your child along with yourself. I just remember back in the day, I did have one son, young Jeremy. I can call his name because he's really good now. But he could not get those multiplication facts. Oh my, he just could not get them. He could do everything else. He could read and he was an outstanding artist. No problem with the other courses. It was just that math and those multiplication facts. Well, and they do things different in the school. They don't use the multiplication table like we did when I was growing up. That's what I learned on. But I had to sit him down. We used to sit down at dinner as a family, of course. No phones back in the day, and sometimes no TV. But afterwards, we do homework. My wife and I would share and do some homework. But I'd have to take Jeremy to the side, and we had to work on those multiplication facts. My presence known. And I love the multiplication facts. So that was easy for me. But I had to understand what he was doing when he got to school so that I wouldn't say, well, the teacher crazy. You need to listen to your dad. I couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. So I had to make sure he understood this is one way to learn your multiplication facts, but you got to have them in your memory. So we did that for quite a while until he started to get it. That's a way that you shake the trees of tradition. You have to go to school with your children, especially your sons. We know that. We don't need to talk about who matures faster. So you really have to be involved in your son's education. Like I say, in all aspects, attend as many meetings as possible with your schools, with the children, PTA meetings, churches, all events, if they're in sporting events, if they're a cheerleader or not, if they're in any kind of event, band. I had one son that was in the band. You have to be involved, show support, let them know that you are in it with them the entire way. And sometimes mothers are always there. We understand. I'm not against that. But you got to make sure that you're there and that you want to be there with everything that they do. And that's what I try to do. And of course, now I have 5 sons. So I try to be at every single event, sporting event, band. One of my sons joined, he was playing the guitar, whatever they could do. I wanted to be involved. Soccer, it's amazing. And you have just as much fun. Now, I know sometimes, and we'll back up just a little bit because I know fathers, you're working, you're trying to bring home that bake. I understand. I did the same thing, and I'm a workaholic. But I wanted to make sure that my employer, the people that work with me, know how important fatherhood is. I always talked about my sons. I talked about the events they were in. I talked about what we put them in. I talked about how good they were, how good they may not have been that we thought they would be. Oh, that's all a part of it. But I wanted to make sure that they understood when it came down for me to be a father and to be present. I'm going to do a good job at work. But when it's time to go and be with my sons, it's time to go and be with my sons. I can do both. I wanted to be an outstanding employee, but I want to be an outstanding and even better father. So there was no question with the people that I work with how important fatherhood was. They were trying to warn, why are you telling us? I just want you to know this is what I do. We had children on purpose. Two, for me to be a father. That was it. That was my biggest focus. Now you might have to go back to some of my episodes in Father Notes season 1 to see why I was so determined to be a father. I might still hit on that, but I don't want to spend too much time there because I really want to express to you as fathers how you have to be present and how that resonates with your sons specifically and your daughters now. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to leave out daughters, but this is mostly about sons because sons sometimes get neglected in the family. They do not have a voice. So it's up to you, father, to make sure your son has a voice in the family. He can't outtalk his sister. I'm telling you now. But you have to set the boundaries. Oh, I'm going to go to boundaries in just a minute. You got to set the boundaries in the home so where everyone has a voice. That includes you, your wife, the mother of the children, your son and daughter. It's got to be equal. Creating a strong family unit. That's where everybody has a voice. That's what I'm talking about right there. Everybody has a voice. No one gets neglected. And fathers have to lead that. No doubt about it. Fathers have to lead that. Now, when I say your presence is important, it reverberates in so many different ways. Just when they might be in a situation where they don't know exactly what to do, their friends, the peer pressure, the friends are trying to get them to do something that they know is wrong. That's when they have to hear your voice. That's when they have to hear your voice. You have already gotten them prepared. Now, son, when you get out there are going to be some things you need to prepare for. And your friends are important to you. I know. But you still got to come home to me and your mother. So before you make a decision, you better hear my voice. Don't you do it. Listen to that inner voice inside of you. And if it feels a little bit queasy, if it feels a little bit strange, run, get out of there. And I gave them many examples of what I experienced because we all do. We all get into situations where, I'm not sure if I should be here. And sometimes we're already there. But you gotta find an exit plan. You gotta find an exit plan. So tell your sons your journey, how you got out of that. And if you didn't get out, how did you navigate your way through it to make your way out? Because sometimes people slip up and fall into some pretty serious situations. I was pretty lucky, but my antenna were up all the time. I was afraid of everybody, men and women. I did not want to get into any kind of mess. I want to go home. I'm telling you now, home was safe, and that's what fathers provide. Safety at home. So you got to make sure that they know that. And we can talk about all of the things that a father is prepared for, and we will as the season go on. But providing that safety, shelter, that's what fathers do. Of course, I talk about that in my book called Father Notes, Being a Better Father on Purpose. Okay, you got to get you a copy of. So let's transition just a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about setting boundaries. I talked about this in the first season, but you have to talk about it over and over and over again because sometimes fathers let their guard down. And when you let your guard down, that means safety and security is being compromised. And you can't allow that. You got to keep the boundary strong. And you got to repeat because, see, men, we like to say it and then we don't want to say it again. Oh, you got to say it again. You got to remind people. They will forget. And those that don't forget will test the waters. So boundaries must be set. They must be reinforced. You got to remind them. You can't forget that boundary was there, especially the mothers. Oh my goodness. They don't like boundaries. Mothers don't like boundaries. Women don't like boundaries. I'm going to be honest. They just don't like them. Men, you got to have boundaries. You got to be some places where you just can't go. So reinforce those boundaries so that you can protect your family, so that you can provide for your family, and you can preserve your family through safety and security. That's why boundaries are so very important. Now, there will be situations where your children, specifically your son, will step over those boundaries. Then you got to remind them, bring them back in, and explain to them why the boundaries are important. Now, I can tell you, oh my goodness, a whole lot of stories about my sons and exploring boundaries, and they should. We're only human. I don't think my boundaries are keeping them from living life, and they shouldn't. But I also know those boundaries help me as a father keep tabs of what my sons are doing and where they are. Now, I wasn't always there, but my antenna were up so good when I knew they were supposed to be at a certain place and they weren't there. I knew that was the time for me to understand something is up. So your boundaries not only help your family, but they help you as a father. You got to have those boundaries. There's just no getting around it. So I'm not going to beat the horse too much, but boundaries are key. And at this moment, my sons are all grown and living their own lives with their families. They still call me from time to time and say, Father, talk to me about boundaries again, because it's tough. Because sometimes we rationalize with other people while we're being so mean. We're not being mean, we're being fathers. I don't care what term you want to use. I'm being a father. I'm protecting my family. And you cannot, I don't care what you think about what should happen in my family. My sons grew up and they were even, their friends were telling them, yeah, y'all mom and dad must be strict. Well, no, that's all we know. That's true. That is all they know. But when they get around their friends and their friends can do a lot of things that we don't allow our sons to do, that makes our sons come back and question us. Oh, Dad, we can't spend the night over at one of our friends' house. No, because we don't know those parents. I said, didn't you understand when you went over to your friend's house? I went over there and introduced myself to their parents. You remember that? That was for the purpose of understanding what's going on over there. And I want them to know I'm your father. And if anything happens, they know how to reach me instead of, "Well, I don't know where they're from." I introduce myself to all of my friends, my son's friends, parents. I'm going to look at you like this. Yes, I'm crazy. I'm not going to let my sons just go. Now, did they go to some people's homes that I did about? Yes. When I found out after the fact, I introduced myself because I followed them in the car while they were riding their bicycle. Yes. Yes. Don't play when it comes to fatherhood. Okay. Woo, y'all got me worked up, but that's okay. Season 2, 2026, it's all jumping off right now about fatherhood because I don't know if everybody's hearing me, and I want everybody to hear me on this podcast. We got to bring fatherhood back in the forefront of the family structure. All right, let's transition to another one, and I'll bring up the I'm gonna bring it up right now. Be the example for your that your children need. Be the example your children need. And on top of that, be the example you didn't have. Ooh, be the example you didn't have. So you have an opportunity to shake the trees of tradition, and you can make the choice to use your voice to do things different in your family. And don't use the excuse, well, my father didn't do that with me. My father wasn't around. I'm exhausted of hearing the excuses of why you can't be a great father. You make the choice to do the things that you need to do. I've heard so many things. I sometimes get on TikTok and Instagram, and I hear so many videos. I see so many videos about fathers and sons, fathers not hugging their sons, not hugging their daughters, and not showing any kind of emotion, that vulnerability. My sons know I'll hug them in a minute. I'm a hugger anyway. But I think we should show that vulnerability. We know how to nurture. Fathers know how to nurture. You have to, just because your father didn't do it, don't mean it should not be done. You create that tradition in your family. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm doing that. I wasn't raised with my biological father, but I was aware of him and I got to meet him and get to know him and everything. And when I did, I was hugging on that man. He was like, what are you doing, son? I'm hugging my father. And it took a few years for him to get used to me hugging on him. And I'm talking about a full frontal hug. I don't care. That's my father. But now, whenever I go visit him and I leave, you gonna give me a hug? Of course I am. Sometimes I gotta test him to see if he really wants my hug. I don't want to spoil him, but I really do. But sometimes I'll test him. I'll just walk to the car. Son, yes, father? Aren't you gonna give me a hug? I most certainly am. I just want to know if you wanted a hug. But his generation, they didn't do that. They did not do that. My generation, my sons got plenty of love and plenty of hugs from their father. And more than that, whenever they got hurt, I was the one. I know the mother has to be there, but when you have 5 sons or you have multiple children, you got to be on, you, you have to be on point. You got to be able to support and help. I had to take care of some of those injuries, take the sons to the hospital, take them to the clinic. That's your role as a father. It's not just the mother's role. It's not. I don't know how you think, but you have to be involved in every single aspect. That goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Every single aspect, not just the sports and the school and the church and the events, also when they're sick. Gotta go to the hospital. Gotta go to the clinic. My leg hurt. Give me some band-aids. You gotta do all of those things. And I did. I did all of those things. So I wanted to make sure that I was present and I was giving the example that my children needed. I didn't worry about what kind of example my fathers were because I had a stepfather too, and he was 40 years older than me, military man. You know, he never hugged me. You just know it. I tried to hug him, but it just did not happen. I think I might have hugged him when they took me off to college. And they took everything out of the car, and I'm getting ready to go into my little room, and I'm setting everything up, and they were getting ready to leave. That was probably the first time I think I gave him a hug. It's just amazing. So, but that was maybe the only time too. It was only the only time. But I would just want to make sure you understand if you don't have the example of what a father should do, then you make the decision to change that. And maybe talk to some of your friends who are fathers who are doing things differently and say, what are you doing? And that's what I want this podcast to be. What are you doing? Because I'd like to share some of the things that I have done and still doing. But raising 5 sons, oh, I did a lot of things differently than my parents did, than my fathers did. And I think they're working out just great. I think our 5 sons are in a whole different place in their lives than I was at that time. But I always wanted to be a father and do things differently, especially with sons. Now, we did want our daughter. When we first started with our marriage and everything, we wanted a daughter, had a name picked out first and everything. Did not happen. I thought I was in charge. The Lord knew what was going on. So we have 5 sons, and I have been visible, present, on top of everything that I can possibly be. No excuses, no regrets. I've tried to be there for every single thing that needed to be done by a father. So I think other fathers can do the same thing. And I hope you will join me in bringing back fatherhood. Bringing back fatherhood. And I'm excited about 2026 because I think the conversation has to continue to grow. That's why I wanted to do this first episode, season 2. Kick it off and keep it going. And remember, I'm going to try to do 2 episodes per month and release it. And it's going to be available. Oh, let me see if I got another one for you. It's going to be, go to my notes. All right. The Father Notes podcast is going to be available. It is available right now, but moving forward, it's going to be available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, my YouTube channel, and my Facebook channel. So it will be out there in case you need to see an episode. Be sure to like and subscribe on my YouTube channel so you can get the notifications on when my next episode is available. And I'm going to also be doing a whole lot of other things. We're releasing music because I'm still doing my music thing, of course. But the Father Knows podcast, I'm hoping that it will definitely impact a lot of people moving forward, especially fathers. So thank you so much for joining the Father Knows podcast, season 2, episode 1. Be present for your children. Your presence is important. Be the example your children need. Take care, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining the Father Knows podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Warren W. Patten Jr. That's Patten Jr. Follow our socials on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Father, make the choice to use your voice.